Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name is Amy. I'm an ordained minister. We're in Bible study. I am, we're in the NIV, and we will be through 2025. In this video, we are in chapter 12 of Exodus, and we're going to do all of chapter 12 of Exodus, which is 50 verses. So let's jump in, okay? The Passover. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron in Egypt, This month is to be for you to tell the whole community of Israel that on the 10th day of this month, each man is to take a lamb for his family, one for each household. And if any household is too small for a whole lamb, they must share one with their nearest neighbor, having taken into account the number of people there are. You are to determine the amount of lamb needed in accordance with what each person will eat. So, as if you're just planning on feeding the whole community. Okay? So you are to determine the amount of lamb needed in accordance with what each person will eat. The animal you choose must be a year-old male without defect, and you may take them from the sheep or the goats. Take care of them until the 14th day of the month, when all the people in the community of Israel must slaughter them at twilight. They are to take some of the blood and put it on the sides and tops of the door frames of the houses where they eat the lambs. So it's best to eat it in your own home. Okay. The same night, they are to eat the meat roasted over the fire, along with bitter herbs and bread made without yeast. Yes, that's it. So it is meant to be unleavened bread for Passover. Do not eat the meat raw or cooked in water, but roast it over the fire. Head, legs, and inner parts. Do not leave any part of it until morning. If some is left till morning, you must burn it. Yeah, that's essentially the burnt offering that he would have had them offer if Pharaoh had let them go. Because this really, basically, the ritual as it continued, even after they had a temple, or even after the Romans came and went. So, okay. This is how you are to eat it. With your cloak tucked into your belt, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. Eat it in haste. This is the Lord's Passover. So quick to eat, so that you're ready to go. On that same night, I will pass through Egypt and strike down every firstborn, both men and animals, and I will bring judgment on all the gods of Egypt. I am the Lord. The blood will be a sign for you on the houses where you are, and when I see the blood, I will pass over you. No destructive plague will touch you when I strike Egypt. This is a day you are to commemorate. For generations to come shall celebrate as a festival of the Lord, a lasting ordinance. For the 7 days you are to eat bread made without yeast. On the first day remove the yeast from your houses. For whoever eats anything with yeast in it from the first day through the 7th must be cut off from Israel. On the first day hold a sacred assembly, and one another on the 7th day, and another one on the 7th day. Do not work at all on these days, except to prepare food for everyone to eat. That is all you may do. So, this takes place right before Easter. In fact, the reason that Easter is not on just any one set day is because this moves with the Jewish calendar, and Easter moves with this. Because Easter happened Passover weekend. So that's a particular, set day for based upon the Jewish calendar, not based upon the Julian calendar, which is if you're in the United States. I think most places, I think everywhere in the world these days uses the Julian calendar. Most certainly all the countries I've ever interacted with use the Julian calendar. So maybe it's just a country I haven't been to or don't know anything about. I mean, that's possible. Verse 17. Celebrate the feast of unleavened bread, because it was on this very day that I brought your divisions out of Egypt. Celebrate this day as a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. In the first month, you are to eat bread made without yeast from the evening of the 14th day until the evening of the 21st day. For 7 days, no yeast is to be found in your house, and whoever eats anything with yeast in it must be cut off from the community of Israel, whether he is alien or native born. Eat nothing made with yeast. Wherever you live, you must eat unleavened bread. Now, also to note that their calendar year and our calendar year, January through December, it's not the same either. It's not even necessarily the same number of days in a month, and that, the months aren't even called the same things. It's all very different, which is not unusual for a culture this ancient. We don't really think anything of it when we think about, the Mayans had a calendar or something. The only thing we concerned ourselves with the Mayan calendar, it's not like the Mayans had a calendar. It was more like, oh no, the Mayan calendar says we're all going to die. It's not that they had a calendar. Everybody was just like, well, of course they did. Nobody talked about that part. There was nothing about it that they found, special in that case. So this is just because it says the first month, that doesn't mean it's January. That's what I'm trying to get at. Then Moses summoned all the elders of Israel and said to them, go at once, select the animals for your families, and slaughter the Passover lamb. Then take a bunch of hyssop, dip it into blood in the basin, and put some of the blood on top on both and on both sides of the door frame. Now, hyssop is a stalky flower that looks almost like it's got little, you would almost think of it's like a bluebell, just tiny little bluebells on this sort of stalky sort of flower is the way it kind of looks. But the bluebells aren't really facing down as much as they're facing up on the stalks, if I'm not mistaken. But somebody who knows more about hyssop can feel free to comment down below if that's the case. I tried to grow some once. I'm going to try to grow some more again. Just, I got it to last, but not for very long is the problem. I got it to grow and stalk and flower. It just also, wasn't the right conditions for it to stay long term. It needed to be moved, and I didn't get to that in time. So go at once and take all the animals selected for your family and slaughter the Passover lamb. Take a bunch of hyssop, dip it in the blood in the basin, and put some of the blood on the top and the sides of the doorframe. Not one of you shall go out of his house until morning. When the Lord goes through the land to strike down the Egyptians, he will see the blood on the top and the sides of the doorframe and will pass over that door. And he will not permit the destroyer to enter your houses and strike you down. Obey these instructions as a lasting ordinance for you and your descendants. When you enter the land the Lord will give you, as he promised, observe the ceremony. And when your children ask you, what does the ceremony mean to you? Tell them, it is the Passover sacrifice to the Lord, who passed over our houses of the Israelites in Egypt, and spared our homes when he struck down the Egyptians. When the people bowed down and worshiped, then the people bowed down and worshiped. Okay, so the Israelites did just as the Lord commanded Moses and Aaron. So they're on board. And, this is a story told during Passover Seder. At midnight, the Lord struck down all the firstborn in Egypt, from the firstborn of the Pharaoh, who sat on the throne, to the firstborn of the prisoner, who was in the dungeon, and the firstborn of all the livestock as well. The Pharaoh and his officials and all the Egyptians got up during the night, and there was a loud wailing in Egypt, for there was not a house without someone dead. That's pretty strong, right? The Exodus. Verse 31. During the night, Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, "Up, leave my people, you and the Israelites. Go worship the Lord as you have requested. Take your flocks and herds as you have said, and go and also bless me." The Egyptians urged the people to hurry and leave the country, for otherwise, they said, "We will all die." So the people took their dough before the yeast was added and carried it on their shoulders in kneading troughs wrapped in cloth. The Israelites did as Moses instructed and asked the Egyptians for the articles of silver and gold and for clothing. The Lord had made the Egyptians favorably disposed towards the people and gave them what they asked for, so they plundered the Egyptians. So just take whatever you want and get out. Really, it's the attitude there. The Israelites journeyed from Ramesses to Sukkoth. There was about 600,000 men on foot, besides women and children. It's a lot of people. Okay. Many other people went up with them, as well as large droves of livestock, both flocks and herds. When the dough they had brought from Egypt, they baked cakes of unleavened bread, matzah. The dough was without yeast because they had been driven out of Egypt and did not have time to prepare the food for themselves. Because it does take time once you put the yeast in to let it rise. It needs resting time, and if you start moving it around, it'll fall. I know this because I particularly like to make bread, and I don't use a bread machine. I mix all of the ingredients, in a mixer, but myself. Now, the length of time the Israelite people lived in Egypt was 430 years. Now, it's got a footnote in Egypt. Masoretic text, Sumerian Pentateuch, and Septuagint, Egypt, and Canaan. So, okay. Well, that's really where they're headed. At the end of the 430 years to the very day, all of the Lord's divisions left Egypt, because the Lord kept vigil that might bring them out of Egypt. On this night, all the Israelites are to keep a vigil in honor of the Lord for generations to come. So they're to, light a candle for the Lord to come. So Passover restrictions. Verse 43. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "These are the regulations for Passover. No foreigner is to eat of it." Any slave you have brought may eat of it after you have circumcised him. Okay. But a temporary resident and a hired worker may not eat it. Now this explains for me, why one of my best friends in high school. So one of my dear friends' father had such a problem at that time at the idea of inviting me to Passover, because apparently we weren't really supposed to. So, but luckily for them, he didn't really break any rules. We just didn't know I was Jewish yet. It's like we found that out when the DNA went into the system that, I'm actually Levitical Jew. So we're like, oh, okay, well, no problem at all then. It must be eaten inside one house. Take none of the meat outside the house. That's right. The person who cooks the food is one who's hosting the meal. Do not break any of the bones. Okay, yeah. The whole community of Israel must celebrate it. All right. Any alien living among you who wants to celebrate the Lord's Passover must have all males in his household circumcised. Then he may take part like one born in the land, because he's now given himself to the covenant, to Abraham's God, because that's what circumcision is supposed to bring. No one circumcised at the same. Okay. All Israelites. So verse 49. I'm going to read that one and then I'll do it again. The same law applies to the native born and to the aliens living among you. Okay. all the Israelites did just what the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. On that very day, the Lord brought the Israelites out of Egypt by their divisions. So by their divisions is going to mean by their tribes or their clans, by the sons of Jacob that they're descended from. Because the sons of Jacob is Israel. So it's who they're descended from. Because it was important to them, so they kept track. They did not tend to intermarry into different tribes. It doesn't mean it never happened. Because the mother married, and for the mother Mary to be related to her cousin Elizabeth, who was then, Zechariah's wife, John the Baptist's parents, for her to be related to them, him to be a priest and everything, he had to be Levitical unless he took a Nazarite vow. But they described him as Levitical, which means they had Mary, a Levitical daughter, who also does have ties to the tribe of Judah. And that's way in the past. And at some point in there was a marriage between the tribe of Judah and the Levitical tribe. It's just surprising that they would then have her marry into the tribe of Judah again, in any kind of that way. Because Levitical daughters usually did marry Levitical men. The Levitical men were not supposed to be marrying anything other than Levitical daughters. And that had to do with purity of soul. But that won't happen until past this time. And I'll explain why when we get to there. Until the next video, friends.